This podcast is sponsored by Talkspace.
Last year, I went through many different life changes. I needed to take a pause and examine how I was feeling in the inside to better show up for the ones who need me to be my best version of myself.
When you're navigating life's changes, Talkspace can help. Talkspace is the #1 rated online therapy, bringing you professional support from licensed therapists and psychiatry providers that you can access anytime, anywhere.
Living a busy life, navigating a long-distance relationship, becoming a first-step father, Talkspace made all of those journeys possible. I could speak with my therapist in the office. I could speak with my therapist in the comfort of my home. I was never alone.
Talkspace works with most major insurers, and most insured members have a $0 copay. No insurance, no problem. Now get $80 off your first month with promo code SPACE80 when you go to Talkspace.com. Match with a licensed therapist today at Talkspace.com. Save $80 with code SPACE80 at Talkspace.com.
Welcome to IgAN Journey, the IgA Nephropathy Foundation's podcast. Here, we share information, tips, stories, and inspiration for living with IgAN. Using the power of our growing patient community, we are focused on funding research and building a network of support and ultimately finding a cure. To learn more about IgAN, to get involved, or help fuel our mission with financial support, visit IgAN.org. Welcome to this very special episode of IgAN Journey. Today, we are joined by Bonnie Schneider, co-founder of the IgA Nephropathy Foundation, without whom this amazing organization that touches so many lives wouldn't exist. This year marks the foundation's 20th anniversary, so we thought it would be fun to take a trip down memory lane and also talk about how the organization has evolved as the go-to place and inspiration for so many people affected by IgA nephropathy. Bonnie, thanks for being with us.
So happy to be here and share my story.
So for listeners who may not know your personal story, can you share a little bit about how the IgA Nephropathy Foundation came to be?
Yes. So back in 2004, our son Eddie was diagnosed with IgA nephropathy at age 13. At that point in time, we felt very alone. There was really no one out there that we could find that could help us understand the journey ahead of us. And that was pretty scary. So within, I would say maybe 3 months, my husband and I decided that if we felt this way, that we definitely needed to do something for others. And especially meeting someone else that's going through it would have really, really helped me. So that was when our mission really set out.
And gosh, how far you've come. Obviously, it's been 20 years, a huge accomplishment. And those of us who work with you know how tirelessly you work to support people affected by IgAN to make sure that no one feels alone, right, in this journey. That's one of our taglines, to empower people with information and to help really move the needle to ensure better and more targeted treatments. And we hope one day a cure. I know it hasn't always been an easy road. Looking back on these 2 decades, what are you and Ed most proud of?
I think the goal in the beginning was to make sure that patients never felt alone, and seeing Spark, seeing all the 300 patients and their families come forward and seeing the tears of joy and hugs and, exchanging email addresses and continuing their friendships. I think that's really, really, really powerful. And every time we leave Spark, we kind of look at each other and I'm going to cry. Sorry, I'm a crybaby, everybody listening, but it is so near and dear to my heart. And I think that was like a real big gift for all the years that we worked so diligently to make sure that nobody felt that way by themselves.
Yeah. And I mean, I've bared witness to the meeting, and it is a magical and inspiring few days. And I think everybody sort of almost doesn't want to leave because they finally found this community that actually understands what they're going through. You talk about Spark, but are there other events or milestones that made you believe that you and Ed were on the right path towards your goal?
Yes, there were so many pieces along the way that we knew we were heading in the right direction. And I have tremendous faith. I wouldn't necessarily say I'm religious, but I always felt very blessed that God chose us to do this. And I made a deal and I said, You just leave me the breadcrumbs and you make sure I'm heading in the right direction. And honestly, we had so many obstacles that I actually got a book. It's called The Obstacle is the Way. And I recommend it to anybody has roadblocks, continuous roadblocks, that you don't give up. You just keep persevering towards the end goal. And that obstacle means you're going the wrong way. You need to go left or right. You got to change your direction. So I think that really helped us stay steadfast in the end goal, which is better treatments and ultimate cure.
So you talk a little bit about what keeps you going and motivated. Are there any things to add? And did you ever want to give up?
Yes, I did. I'm going to be totally transparent. There was probably a handful of times that I really felt I couldn't serve the community because I lacked bandwidth. It was my husband and I and the board of directors that all, were so supportive over the past at least 16 years since we developed that board of directors. But there was a lot of times that I felt like I wasn't doing the right service. I wasn't getting them the patient-facing materials. I just lacked the knowledge of how to move some of these big, big pieces forward that would get the patients more engaged. So again, I prayed and I just said, you're in this with me. I need your help. Get me back on path. Like, I don't know which way to go right now. And it kept working. 20 years later, look at us.
Well, I think with anything, and this has been your baby, right? Ever since that you and Ed realized there was really nothing available for anybody who is facing this diagnosis, whether you're a parent or a care partner, it takes a village, right? We found out that it takes a village. So from your perspective, what has made this organization such a success, in addition to sort of the people and dedication that's really come forward to help you move the foundation forward?
The changing moment happened when we worked with the National Kidney Foundation to go in front of the FDA and industry and have a couple key opinion leaders speak on IgAN with a panel of patients really, really struggling with it was actually the only treatment, steroids, ACE and ARBs. Steroids are awful. So it was our mission to explain to the FDA that it's more than just a petri dish. These are people with feelings that are having awful side effects. And at that moment, I walked out of there and there was like 5 people, the original team, Carlos Christie, Elena Riddick, and Gisela Delgado, Stuart Miller. And they were like, what can we do? And I'm like, oh my God, there it is. There's my army. So we jumped in and started planning the strategic planning, the 1 year, 3 year, 5 year. And gosh, this team did it. And then more people came forward. And then you developing our ambassador program with my vision of what I wanted that to look like. And I mean, it's really amazing. The army that we have, I don't even have the words for it because everybody has empathy for others, compassion. They all have vision, the Schneider Doyle vision of what we want to do, serve others, serve others, serve others, make everybody, arm them with knowledge so they can navigate their disease process. All of these things, everybody coming in now at our foundation all believe in this process. And that's really, really cool.
Well, and I think that FDA meeting, I've heard you talk about it for many years now, is sort of a tipping point, but there's no question that your vision for the organization and our team who's involved has really placed a big emphasis on patient voice and making sure that the patient experience is front and center, because this is a progressive disease. It's lifelong. It often strikes when people are young and they're building careers and families. How do you kind of keep bringing it back to the patient voice in any conversations that you have, whether it be with potential funders or board of directors or other patients who we meet?
We have to always go back to the mission. I'm working on a couple projects right now. Why patient voice is so important. Decision makers in all of these areas of the leaders that have always been the decision makers has to rely more on the patient voice. There should always be a committee involved when these decisions are made, whether it be IgA nephropathy or any disease process. They have to understand that we speak patient. it's not all just about science. It's about understanding the patient's journey. Sure, you can put something on the market, but you have to be able to understand what we feel about that, what we think about that. And being patient-centric organization like we are, I am constantly on top of getting the voices heard as I represent thousands and thousands of patients. It's very high on my priority list to speak on behalf of everybody that really don't have that voice. It's very important to us. It's really who we are.
Well, and I think just taking it a step further, you mentioned Spark. Obviously, that's our annual meeting. It's the only one dedicated to IgA nephropathy where patients and caregivers, caretakers, industry partners, key experts come together to really share best practices, obviously for support and information. But one thing I heard people say this year is that even though we grew a lot, right, we almost doubled in size, it still has a small family, intimate feel about it. And I think that is a tribute to kind of your and Ed's leadership, and obviously along the way with everybody else involved in the organization. How important is that to you to kind of maintain this as we grow, this culture of really caring and being kind of this IgAN family and close-knit, intimate support and community?
I've had the opportunity to work with other organizations and just volunteer, do programs together. And I see the big difference. And that difference is everyone within our foundation is either a patient or a caregiver. Our board of directors, our leadership team, we all have skin in the game. And that's a big difference. I think when you come out of school and you go to a nonprofit and you work at a nonprofit, you can go home at the end of the day at 4, 5, 6 o'clock, and you can watch TV and kind of forget about what you did during the day. Well, we don't do that because I'm worried about Eddie 24/7. Everybody's worried if they have like our leadership, everybody's had a transplant. Well, is my IgAN going to come back? And that's after 6 o'clock. That goes all night. Sometimes you worry about it all night long. So that camaraderie and that shared holding hands, I guess you could say, like we're all in it together, really, really moves the needle. And I take pride in that. I mean, I look at that people coming in and wanting to get involved, and what gifts do you have to bring in? Where can I fit you in the foundation that use your gifts that God gave you? And may also at the same time, we're empowering people that come in because they were alone for so long. And all of a sudden they have the opportunity to have a voice. And that growth, when you empower yourself, the disease isn't as scary. That's how I felt when I started a foundation. I had control. That was the only thing I had control over, is building this foundation. So as angry as I got at the disease process, the more I worked at building a stronger foundation. So it's like arming yourself with power and knowledge.
Yeah, that's really important part of the disease process for sure as well. And I think, and you may not admit this, but this is actually a question from one of our ambassadors. They wanted me to ask you this. You've over the years become a bit of a mentor to other people, whether it's our ambassadors who are in the field kind of carrying the message forward, or even others aspiring to start their own foundation. I mean, we were in a taxi cab the other day in Boston together, and there was a woman who just started a foundation for a very rare disease that her mom and her son have, and is very scary. And you offered her advice. So what has it been like to sort of evolve to a point where, whether you know it or not, you are kind of this mentor to other people that are trying to make a difference?
I'm a big believer in paying it forward, no matter what I do. I'm the type of person that if you need a shirt, I'll give you mine. If you need food, I'll give you whatever food I have. It's just kind of in my nature to be that kind of person. But I do think when you pay it forward, good things happen. Like the girl in the cab, Sarah, I've now connected her with Shane Zuckerberg, connected her with Global Genes, NORD, Every Life Foundation, so she can do what she needs to do for her family. And I told her I will always be here for her. And that feeling of being able to help somebody, I don't know about anybody else listening, but that is really powerful. That's like drinking overloaded caffeine. The energy that I get from it there's nothing like it. There's absolutely nothing on the planet better than the feeling of helping people. It should be bottled. I wish it could be bottled and they all had it, but go do, be, help others. Good God, if we can do that and use the foundation as where we got that from, I mean, that just makes us even more powerful at the end of the day.
Well, and I think at the end of the day, what the foundation is doing, what you've done all this time is make connections. And that's what's so important, especially when you're dealing with a rare disease. So I know you hear intimate stories of other families affected by IgAN every day. As you said, it's not something that you clock out of. And although we know that everyone's journey is a little bit different, what are some of the common threads that really link this community?
Doesn't matter where you live globally. As you know, we're going global. At the end of the day, we all feel the same way. So whether you're in India, whether you're in China, whether you're in Canada, whether you're in the US, there's a certain connection just by saying, I have IgAN and you have IgAN, or your child has IgAN. There's like a breathing moment when you find somebody like that. I don't even know how to explain it. It's life-saving. That's pretty much the word I think I could use. It's like a flotation device that comes into you in a big storm of water and you can hang on to it. And we want to be that life-saving device, right? We want to be able to help people all around the world, which is part of our big initiative, is translating our patient-facing materials into the native languages, being respectful of culture. That's a big task, but it's one that we're going to keep doing. We're going to keep getting the message out there so globally people will not feel alone.
I mean, gosh, how does it feel for you and Ed to be sitting at home and knowing that you are going to be going global? I don't know what you want to share. I know that we're in the early days, but how did that feel?
It felt really incredible. When we were on the pharma tour, having the response, such a positive response, was really validating to me that I had the support, because it's a big program and it's going to be years and years and years to come. And just knowing that I had that support, because it was pretty scary thinking of taking this kind of big project and knowing I don't have the bandwidth alone to do it, then knowing I have the support to have the help was really, really great. And we were by the kitchen sink after we got home. We were exhausted after 3.5 weeks on the road, doing everything all over the place. We were talking about how good the industry road trip went. And he looked at me and he had tears in his eyes, cried again. And he said, you should feel so good about things that you do. And you were amazing. And I watched you and I watched people look at you when you're on this trip. And everybody was like, they wanted to hear more from you, because you were just so different and you just represent in such a natural way that people just respond really well. And I never seen him like that. And he's never really said that to me, but that was really, really, that was very cool.
Well, I mean, it's so apparent how deeply you care and how authentic you are. And obviously it's made a huge difference. And I guess, we started out this conversation of when Eddie was first diagnosed and he was on steroids. Talk a little bit about that journey from having really no options for treatment to now 2 drugs on the market, others about to come on the market, and then all of these therapeutics that are in the pipeline. How does that feel? And what's your message to people who are living with IgAN today?
When Eddie was diagnosed in 2004, at age 13, of course, the regimen was ACE/ARBs and put him on steroids. Well, he blew up, like his face was like the size of a pumpkin. He was 13 years old, 8th grade, and he was known as like the kidney boy. Really hard to watch, because as a mom, why didn't you come to me? I would have much rather carry that burden and rather than my kids. So I was very frustrated about what the scope of work for him. The treatment options were horrible. Here you have a 13-year-old boy. He's got ACE/ARBs, steroids. He might end up in renal failure, kidney, a dialysis, and then onto a transplant. And then it could come back. Well, that's horrifying. Within the 6 months of Eddie's diagnosis, our daughter was diagnosed with Hodgkin's lymphoma. She was 19 years old. She was in her freshman year of college. And as scary as cancer is and as horrific as it was, knowing I had two kids at totally different directions in the state of New Jersey, Children's Hospital in St. Barnabas in Livingston. When I left the oncology department, they said to me, Michelle was going to be on ABVD for 6 months and then followed up with 6 weeks regimen of radiation. I left there so scared, but I knew somebody was driving this ship. I knew we had people on board that knew what they were doing. I just had to get her there 3 times a week and then take care of her, sick as anything at home. Eddie, there was nothing. I was like in charge of him. I didn't want to be in charge of him. So later down the road in 2019, Calliditas, president of Calliditas, came to me. We met on the side of a highway having a bagel in this diner. And he said to me, we have a treatment and it looks really, really hopeful. I almost like passed out. And I remember that feeling of saying, oh my God, you do? And then meeting him week after week and helping enroll the trial. And I learned so much. He was like a mentor. He taught me everything. And then the next trial comes on, and then I'm filling that trial. I work hands-on every single day with industry to make sure that those trials get filled. We don't just slap it on a website and hope somebody does it. No, we roll it out. We have every other week engaging our industry partners to understand the need is so there for our patients, and we will do everything to make sure that we get these drugs to market. So it looks really great right now. We've got 2 drugs in the market. We've got 1 almost ready to go. We've got 2 phase 3 in the FDA's hands and others in the pipeline that are phase 2 and 3 filling clinical trials. Our future is really, really bright. It's always in my head that we're not done. We have so far to go. Even with drugs on the market, we still have a long way to go. The nephrology space has been very, very desolate, very quiet for many, many years. Getting the nephrologists to understand that these clinical trials are happening now and the sense of urgency that we need to fill them, as well as educating patients that they have options. They could choose drugs that are good for them. Which one would be better for them? We're not really seeing a full engagement, which is very frustrating because patients are not getting the knowledge and the choices that they can make. So we do have work to go, and we're up for the fight. That's what I signed up for.
Yeah, it's been amazing to watch how quickly things have progressing. So as you said, the future is bright. And I think we're even on the cusp of really even developing tools to help patients be part of shared decision making so that they understand the choices that they have and they're able to balance pros and cons and what's best for them in their life. For people newly diagnosed with IgAN or those struggling along their journey, what would be your 2 or 3 biggest pieces of advice that you'd offer?
Take your fear, get yourself engaged with the foundation, get yourself into the support groups that we offer, become a member, use the app, take notes. We have so many programs. We have the Calm app for free once you're a member. We have Talkspace, and we have many other programs that we can help our patients navigate through the disease process.
And now, through our ambassador program, you have a little army, as you called it, on the boots on the ground, I should say, in local communities with the hope of obviously having regional presence over time so that the ultimate goal being that no patient needs to wait too long before they're connected with somebody else who's living with disease. So that's been pretty amazing as well.
Yes. And thank you, Amanda, for being a part of this journey with me and rolling out this ambassador program in such a brilliant way. Everybody really is engaged, and, sure, we're going to have little hiccups here and there along the way as we grow fast, and every day IgAN changes in this space. So what we know today as knowledge might not be tomorrow. So we have to be on our toes nonstop to bring forth that new information. So that those hiccups, we're learning as we go, but I'm so proud of the ambassador program, and we're at 50, with the new ambassadors coming in.
That's a huge team effort. So I I want to make sure everybody knows how much this has been a team effort to really
Absolutely. Yes, absolutely.
Anything else that you would like our listeners to know, especially as you reflect back on this being 20 years?
There's so much I want to say. Thank you, everyone listening, for being on this journey with you. If you're listening, you've been on the journey. Stay steadfast. Don't let the disease define you. Take what we have. Become a peacock, as I called it when we went to Capitol Hill. I watched all the new people that have never been to Capitol Hill go and meet their congressmen and senators, and seeing what they look like after. They were like peacocks. All you saw was this armor around them, that they went into this new area and they did it. And they were so proud of themselves. And everybody calls me the mom to everybody. It was a mom moment, really was. So those of you who I do not know, I'm always here for you. We're always here for you. Bonnie@IgAN.org. It's that easy. And give me 24 hours. I will always get back to you.
It's true. She will. Well, and so much of what we do and the success of our first Hill Day is about these stories. And I can tell you, having heard the stories of so many people, I mean, you make such a difference to them, you and This Foundation, all of the leadership and board members. So thank you so much for being with us today.
Thank you. This was a great experience and happy to be a part of it.
I would encourage our listeners to visit IgAN.org. As Bonnie mentioned, there's a ton of membership benefits and also a lot of free materials as well. So visit IgAN.org, make sure to become a member so that you can stay up to date on the most latest information about treatments, tools, and programming. Thank you for joining IgAN Journey, the IgA Nephropathy Foundation's podcast. Here we share information, practical tips, stories, and inspiration for living with IgAN. Everyone's at a different point in their IgAN journey, but we're here for you. You're not alone. To learn more about IgAN, to get involved, or help fuel our mission with financial support, visit www.IgAN.org. The information and opinions shared in IgAN Journey are not intended to serve as or replace medical advice. Always speak with your nephrology care team about treatments that are right for you.